That is right, we are now driving for Ferrari. I went through the votes and actually 3 times more people voted for me to move to Ferrari instead of staying at Force India. Truly, it broke my heart actually to firstly leave Force India, but also to see comments like staying at Force India because you got their first ever win. I knew I'd be disappointing someone, but overwhelmingly, really, you guys chose Ferrari. So as you can see, I will be in the famous red, the Scuderia we will be driving for and supported by the Tifosi, of course, when we reach Monza. But for now, we are here in Hungary, a very sunny Hungary, for an all-dry race here. And as you can see, our new teammate Fernando Alonso there on the teammate challenge. But before we get into the race, it is time to have a look at the qualifying report. Q1 saw Lewis Hamilton quickest and overcast Budapest by 5/10 from Daniel Ricciardo. Fernando Alonso took third from new teammate Yusufu in fourth, driving for the first time since leaving Force India. Kevin Magnussen dropped out in 17th, while Jules Bianchi yet again made it through. Once again, Lewis Hamilton would be fastest, this time from Fernando Alonso in the second qualifying session of the day. Yusufu comfortably made it through in 5th as Kvyat caused a shock. He progressed to Q3 in 9th at the expense of Jenson Button and new boy Sergio Perez. But taking the clean sweep in Q3 would be Lewis Hamilton by 1/10 over Mercedes teammate Nico Rosberg. Yusufu took a very solid third for new employers Ferrari, just in front of Daniel Ricciardo in 4th. Fernando Alonso could only manage 9th after good pace all weekend. So all of this means that Lewis Hamilton would take pole for the 10th time this season here in Hungary in front of teammate Nico Rosberg and Yusufu for new employers Ferrari. Daniel Ricciardo would take 4th in front of Vettel, Massa, Bottas and Hülkenberg, with Alonso in 9th and Kvyat in 10th. So then, in our first ever qualifying session at our new team at Ferrari, having moved from Force India, we put ourselves 3rd on the grid. Fantastic qualifying session there. There is Fernando Alonso in 9th on the grid, already getting the upper hand on him in the teammate challenge. But as you can see, the 2 Mercedes locking out the front row behind us. Daniel Ricciardo there in 4th. 5 lights are now on and they are now off, and we are underway here on our Ferrari debut. It is fantastic to be driving such a prestigious car and for such a prestigious team. We haven't got the best of getaways though here in our first race, much like Lewis Hamilton, who's been jumped by his teammate Rosberg already. We're cautious into turn 1 there as Ricciardo tries to lunge up the inside, but Hamilton is hung out to dry, and we take 2nd place there directly behind Nico Rosberg as Daniel Ricciardo funnels through there past the Brit as well. So an awful start for Hamilton, from pole position down into 4th place already, and the man who's taken so many poles, 10 out of the 11 available already this season. But as you can see, Rosberg is the man who takes the lead, and massive gaps already starting to develop a little bit further down the order through into the 2nd sector though we now go. And this is a sector where we probably lost the most amount of time to the AI around the track. The first sector we were pretty much fastest, or at least very much on par with fastest, but as you can see, we are still all over the back of Rosberg there as we club the chicane, club the curb there as we go into the chicane. Not a very good line through there, getting grass on the tyre, and likewise now into the right hand corner. But it's been so long since I drove this track that I wasn't really expecting to be 3rd on the grid. But this new Ferrari, of course, that we are now driving clearly has a lot more one lap pace than the Force India did, and certainly noticing a bit less understeer in comparison to the Mercedes-powered car before. Of course, that is an issue though. Less pace theoretically in a straight line, although we have got a new power unit this weekend. Probably a bit of a waste putting it in this weekend, but I'd completely forgotten for this season so far, because obviously there's a track where straight line speed isn't exactly vital and it's so hard to overtake. But as we now move on to lap 2, we are just over a second behind Nico Rosberg, and overall a pretty good first lap. Now moving on to lap 4, and yeah, still Rosberg up the road. But unfortunately, obviously, I said this is a track where it's hard to overtake. It's also our high degradation track. Look at the tyre wear after just 4 laps. We're meant to be pitting on lap 10. And those tyres are already yellow to orange, so I don't really know how we're going to last until lap 10. I don't think we are. I think we might have to change the strategy. We're currently on the option prime strategy. It may have to change to option prime. But as you can see, despite that tyre wear, we're still putting in some very good lap times, and we go purple there as we now start lap 6. And we actually got the assistance of DRS down the straight, which means now as we go into the 2nd DRS zone, we'll have the assistance of DRS yet again. There is our fastest lap of the race there with a 1:26.379. Unfortunately, we are unable to get past Nico Rosberg, but we are now all over the back of him. Managed to stretch out a good 2 to 3 second gap over Ricciardo and Lewis Hamilton, squabbling for third place and the final podium place behind us. But yeah, some really good pace at the moment on these option tyres, despite the tyre wear starting to kick in. I think that will become a factor on the next lap, but as you can see, just 3 tenths behind Rosberg. As you can see, though, now moving on to lap 7, and a massive slide there coming out of the third to last corner. That probably an indication that we do need to come off these tyres very soon. But now moving on to the next lap, because we didn't come in on lap 7, we decided to come in on lap 8 instead, but we have lost a lot of time to Rosberg, and there you can see the full extent of that tyre wear. Massive, massive amount of tyre wear now moving on to lap 9, so pitting 2 laps earlier than we were meant to. And I think this is pretty much going to mean a change of strategy. We are going to move on to the prime tyres now, so that's already a change in strategy, because we were meant to be going option prime, option prime. And now we're changing onto the prime tyres. But as you can see, forget about that for now, because an absolutely humongous train of cars has just gone past, and we have now got to navigate all of those cars. That does in fact include our teammates Fernando Alonso. Directly in front of us is Jenson Button, and the man who replaced us at Force India, Sergio Perez, in the Force India, in the Mexican driver in the Force India. And on to lap 9, and now moving on to lap 10, we managed to catch even the back end of this snake, the back end of this train. We've got the assistance of DRS now as we plunge down towards the hairpin at turn 1. Going to look for a move up the inside. Jenson Button, of course, still on those option tyres there. Probably a lot of tyre wear kicking in for him. And we're actually going to go past Sergio Perez there as well, who goes very wide after trying to look at our teammate there, Fernando Alonso, trying to make a move on him. And that's 2 places there through 1 corner. Very easy move, actually. Button there just allowing us through, and Perez pretty much likewise, just going out wide. In front of us now is our teammate, Fernando Alonso. We are now a full pit stop in front of Fernando Alonso. A very, very good debut, I think it's fair to say, for us so far. As you can see, though, moving now into this right-hand corner, we're going to go up the inside. Fantastic move there. We're going to see a replay of that quickly. There it is. And really nice move, actually, in a place where you don't tend to overtake. See a few moves there in GP2 occasionally, but not overly in Formula 1. Now moving on to lap 10. And obviously this was the lap we were meant to come in, so I knew that a lot of people would be coming off their option tyres and trading them for either a new set of options or a set of primes. Hulkenberg there directly in front of us coming in, as well as Jean-Eric Vergne, and I think Felipe Massa too. Now we're bearing down on Daniel Kvyat, and we're going up the inside of him. Fantastic race so far for the young Russian in the Toro Rosso, but we now move up past him even. Don't know what's going on with my mouth today. I can't say anything. I just cannot say anything. Lewis Hamilton has also come in on that lap, but Ricciardo and Rosberg stay out. We've gone very, very wide, though, down into turn 2. All sorts of marbles now on these tyres, and Daniel Kvyat right on the back of us. He, though, pits the next lap, and also Daniel Ricciardo coming in, as well as Nico Rosberg. Rosberg will stay in front of us pretty comfortably. You can just see him there going through turn 1, and Ricciardo also a long way behind. But as you can see, going purple yet again, this time on lap 13, as we're now starting to catch Rosberg, and we've managed to pull out a massive gap of 4.6 seconds on Daniel Ricciardo. But yet again, of course, these tyres 2 laps older than the guys around us, and now moving on to lap 15, they are now 7 laps old. And Daniel Ricciardo and Lewis Hamilton are starting to catch us. We are going rather slowly on these prime tyres, and it's starting to become a stint that is slowly killing us off in terms of trying to win this race. So what I'm going to do is, instead of coming in when I would usually come in, which I think would be lap 22, I can remember from my strategy that these guys behind us, Daniel Ricciardo and Hamilton, who are on option tyres, as I can actually tell you they are on an option tyre, so naturally they should be catching us. We're actually going to cover them off. Instead of pitting 2 laps later and allowing them to get the undercut, we're going to actually pit when they do and then stick another prime set on to cover them off, basically, because I know they have to run the prime set in the last stint. Well, I mean, that is the case for Lewis Hamilton and Daniel Ricciardo. They're running the options now, but actually Sebastian Vettel is on the prime tyres. He's managed to bridge the gap to Ricciardo and Hamilton, and he is now on the back of the train, and he'll be running the options at the end. As you can see, though, the option shot, Lewis Hamilton has gone up the inside of us there as we went wide there through that right-hand corner, and now back up the inside of him we go there. Nice little switchback move, actually, but as you can see there, as the tyre wear is really starting to kick in, we are really suffering, and the issue is, the really horrible thing is, we have fantastic pace. We managed to keep with Rosberg for about 7 laps on those option tyres, and we were actually catching him for the first 5 laps of this stint. But as soon as the tyre wear kicks in, we have absolutely no pace whatsoever. There's no consistency, but there's obviously incredible consistency for the AI. And now Lewis Hamilton is looking at the inside of us, down into turn 1 there. He brakes as late as us, but we are going to go right around the outside of him, down into turn 1 there, and Vettel and Ricciardo there, and the 2 Red Bulls all over the back of him now as well. Moving on to lap 20, this is actually the lap before the guys around us come in, so we do actually get an undercut 1 lap undercut on Lewis Hamilton, 1 lap undercut on Ricciardo, and it'll be more like a 3 lap undercut on Sebastian Vettel because he was running the primes in that stint. We're now swapping onto another set of prime tyres. Slightly disappointing that we're not going to be running the option tyres twice in this race. There is a very lonely Felipe Massa goes through. I think we are just about going to come out in front of the group behind, which is Nico Hülkenberg and I think a McLaren possibly, or a Toro Rosso. Yeah, we're just going to get in front of those guys pretty comfortably indeed. It may be a McLaren, I think it is, possibly another Williams, not entirely sure. But now moving on to lap 22, and Ricciardo and Hamilton are both coming in. We've managed to pass Ricciardo already. It'll be a little bit closer on Hamilton, but we do in fact go past him, and through we go back into 4th place, but a net 2nd place really when Massa and Sebastian Vettel pit in front of us. That in fact duly happens. Both Massa and Vettel come in after that sort of 4 lap, I think it was, undercut on Sebastian Vettel, and we reclaim 2nd place there. A back mark, I think that's Marcus Ericsson in front of us, and now all we've got to do is hold on in front of these guys. As I said, that was the strategy, covering them off. We've managed to successfully do that because I think if we left it a few more laps, if we allowed them to get the undercut, which they probably should do, based as they seeing as they were on the option tyres and we were on the primes, we would have been passed, and we would have dropped out of the podium places. As you can see, we were managing to get away for the first few laps of that stint. Yet again, the pre-tyre wear pace is absolutely fantastic, but as soon as that tyre wear kicks in around this very high deg track, a lot like Catalonia, we just fall back into the grateful arms of the trio behind us, being Sebastian Vettel, Daniel Ricciardo and Lewis Hamilton. Unsurprisingly, Sebastian Vettel has risen to the top of this battle, being on the option tyres, and yet again we go wide through that right-hand corner, then spat out on the curbs, out onto the runoff area, on the outside. Now we're going to try and go back right round the outside here of Vettel, who is slow on the apex. He gets much better traction, but down into the penultimate corner, we're going to go back up the inside here, some fantastic racing and side-by-side action, and we just squeeze him out there. Actually had to correct there, a bit of an overcorrection in fact, which actually pretty much pushed us into Vettel a little bit too aggressively. I was trying to ease him out, but obviously that overcorrection meant it was a bit more rude, a little bit more rude than was initially anticipated. Behind us though, Sebastian Vettel, with the assistance of DRS now, I don't think he's going to be able to get alongside or get enough of an overlap to make a move. He doesn't, and indeed he backs out into the grateful arms of his teammate Daniel Ricciardo. And here on to lap 34 now, the penultimate lap. We're about to start the final lap of the race. Lewis Hamilton has now got in front of the 2 Red Bulls, and as you can see, the tyre wear is absolutely catastrophic. No traction at all coming out of that last corner, and now Lewis Hamilton trying to go to the outside this time down into turn 1 with the assistance of DRS on those prime tyres as well, going to skate out wide there. Massive amount of oversteer there on exit, massive fishtail, and now Daniel Ricciardo's managed to get past Lewis Hamilton as well. They're the other train going down the start-finish straight. I think Felipe Massa's even starting to catch us as well now. Just absolutely no pace whatsoever. Look at that rallycross sliding through pretty much every single corner. And now through into this blind left-hand corner there, touching the grass on the outside and going onto the curb. That spits us out onto the grass on the other side. We just about managed to hold on and just about managed to recover there. Daniel Ricciardo, though, has gone through. That will be the end of that. No more seeing him. The Australian will be finishing 2nd in this race. There's not a chance we're going to be able to take that position back. And tentatively now coming through the chicane, Nico Rosberg has won the race. Lewis Hamilton's now dropped behind Sebastian Vettel in the other Red Bull. And now we've just got to focus on keeping these guys behind, because we have got absolutely no traction, no grip whatsoever. We're basically driving on... We're driving on the carcass. We're driving on the rims. We're basically driving on the rims. That's what's happened here. Rosberg's won by an absolute country mile, having only... It seems like such a long time ago when he was only 3 tenths behind, but I think just about we are holding on in front of Sebastian Vettel down into the penultimate corner. They're literally flinging it in, sliding around. And this is ridiculous. This is a bit like Catalonia. Felipe Massa's even joined the back end of the group now. We were about 15 seconds in front of him at the last pit stop stage. This tyre wear has just killed us completely. No traction out of the last corner, but we are just about going to come across the line to take 3rd and our 2nd podium of the season. Our 1st podium since Bahrain. Finally, that 2nd podium has come along, and this time it is in the red of Ferrari instead of in the orange, black and white combo of Force India. Nico Rosberg, though, won the race by an impressive 51 seconds, pretty much thanks to dead tyres in both of those latter stints on those prime tyres. Those stints really killed us off. It was a massive shame because we had a great amount of pace, obviously in qualifying and on those option tyres. And just at the start of every stint, Ricciardo taking 2nd, we take our 2nd podium of the season in 3rd, and from Vettel, Hamilton, Massa, Perez, Hülkenberg, Alonso and Jensen Button, a double point scoring finish for my old team Force India, and 6 points on his debut for Sergio Perez, having replaced us. Valtteri Bottas there, the only non-finisher, and Daniel Kvyat missing out on points, having been up in 7th, or having been up in 4th actually, at one stage in the race. Here is how that race affects the Drivers' Championship now. Nico Rosberg 5 points in front of Lewis Hamilton. Daniel Ricciardo there just 41 points back of the leader in 3rd. Then it's Sebastian Vettel, myself now of course for Ferrari, representing Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship. Then it's Alonso, Hulkenberg, Massa, Button, Magnussen, Perez, and Valtteri Bottas there in 12th, with Kamui Kobayashi, Adrian Sutil, and the 2 Toro Rossos behind that, each on 1 point. Here is how it affects the Constructors' Championship then. Mercedes in the lead still now, 3-digit lead in front of Red Bull. Then Force India, we find ourselves just 2 points behind my old team. Of course, that was a fantastic battle when we were at Force India as well, with McLaren and Williams there 5th and 6th. There you can see my guy now celebrating his 2nd podium of the season. It's been a while since Bahrain, 8 whole races since we were last tasting the champagne on the rostrum. And I think that's a pretty decent debut. I think my new employers, Ferrari, will be very, very happy. If we can replicate that in Belgium and in front of the Tifosi in Monza, I think they will be very happy. I will be very happy as well. Those are 2 tracks I really enjoy, and hopefully we'll be scoring some massive points there, possibly even taking a win. Very surprised to get a podium here. A very good race. A lot of it was defending, unfortunately. A lot of it was frustrating due to tyre wear, but still a very good result in the end. A little bit of an AIDSy finish in terms of having to really slip and slide through the last few corners, but nevertheless, I really hope you did enjoy this episode of F1 2014 Career Mode. Feel free to leave a like if you did enjoy, comment about enjoying it if you enjoyed the video that much, as well as any suggestions on improving the series overall. It has been an absolute pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a good day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.